What's up? Welcome in. It's our special Wednesday edition of the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining. You can find us, of course, Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Hear us on the Locked On Vikings audio feed wherever you get your podcast. The Sam Darnold debate will not stop. It rages on. We continue that discussion today. Plus, wild card matchups. I think it's safe to start talking about them. The Vikings could clinch as soon as tomorrow night with the Rams loss, potentially on Monday if they beat the Bears. We'll start talking about the wild card round. I've got other pending free agents to run by the crew, and we'll talk about the Bears and is it a trap game. Before we meet everybody on today's show, I want to remind folks that we're brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if the first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, let's meet everybody on today's panel on the Minnesota Football Party. Julia, take it away.
Hi, Julia Daniels, Tier 11 sports reporter here.
Hi.
So, that's my fake enthusiasm. I totally Tier 11
excited to be here.
I'll be out at Vikings today, and I'll say I'm not like totally sold on the Vikings winning this game this week.
Right. I'm Ron Johnson, former Gophers wide receiver, NFL wide receiver, Vikings game day host, but also I got to talk about Caleb Williams might be the reason why this staff either gets fired or rehired.
Ooh, and I'm Reggie Wilson, sports director at Care 11, and Wes Phillips. Very interesting comments yesterday about Sam Darnold's future with the team or not with the team.
Got to get that recap from Reggie. And I'm Sam Ekstrom, executive producer here at Locked On Sports Minnesota. And congratulations to the Care 11 folks. They are now Timberwolves television partners over the air. 5 games of the Wolves going to be on Care 11 this year. So check that out. I believe December 21st is the first game. All right, let's dive in. The Sam Darnold debate is unceasing. It's everywhere. It's local. It's national. It's on X. It's on Instagram, and it's right here on the Minnesota Football Party as well. I'm going to try to spin it in maybe a new direction. Let's look at the rest of the division. The rest of the division had a decision point recently with their quarterback, right? So you've got Detroit on one side and Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff, similar to Darnold, had a better pedigree than Darnold, but he was not expected, I don't think, to be a long-term solution. But Detroit changed their mind. He turned out to be fantastic. They gave him a big extension. Green Bay, they move on from their veteran. They go with the young guy, Jordan Love, and it seems to be working out pretty well for them right now. And then you've got the Bears, and the Bears commit wholeheartedly to their first-round pick, and they are enduring some serious growing pains right now. So who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the team that commits to the first-round pick and goes all in and says, you are our future, this is our direction? Do you want to be the team that sticks with its veteran and says, you know what, we didn't love you at first, but you've changed our mind, and we want to commit long-term to this marriage? Julia, where do you stand when you look at the division? Who do you want to be?
It is such a fun toss-up. We were discussing this after the game on Sunday, and we had the whole sports department out there just very passionately talking about scenarios. I think it's very much still in the air. I think that, yes, Sam Darnold obviously has proved himself a lot this season. Do I think he's proved himself so much that the Vikings would sign him to an extension and in that case kind of overlook their first-round draft pick? I think that decision is very much still in the air. I don't think I think Sam Darnold, yes, has had a stellar season, but I unfortunately think he's going to have to prove himself further than what he's done so far for the Vikings to make a decision like that. Jared Goff obviously has been this anomaly in Detroit, but I will say, if memory serves, I don't think he had a first-round quarterback sitting behind him in a room waiting to take over the Lions hadn't talked about how this is their heir apparent to their franchise, who's this young guy sitting on the bench waiting to learn. So I think it's going to be a TBD decision for me. I think that if we were to say right now the Vikings had to make a decision, I don't think that they would sign him to an extension just yet.
This is what I say, though. When you look at Jared Goff was a first-round pick. He was a Super Bowl quarterback. There was no need for the Lions. The Lions traded Matthew Stafford because they were sick of an old quarterback. They were looking for a guy like Jared Goff. They weren't looking to draft a guy. They never said they were going to find a guy to get behind Jared Goff. Jared Goff just earned himself more money than what they thought they'd have to pay him. Their plan was always, like Ben Johnson talked about that. They don't make a trade and really fleece. They fleeced the Rams. Let's be real. They fleeced the Rams for Matthew Stafford, and the Rams got their Super Bowl. They sold their soul to the devil, and now they have to deal with those consequences now. But maybe one day getting back. But they're going to want I think the Rams are like, can we get Arch Manning? And when you think about the Lions and where they are, I like that scenario. I like Sam Darnold because go through all the rookies. Drew Brees, he got better when he got to the Saints. Jared Goff got better when he got to the Lions. Baker Mayfield got better when he got to the Buccaneers. We put so much on these rookie quarterbacks, and we expect Peyton Manning. I coached him. He won 3 games as a rookie. He could not last in this today's society of media. They would have murdered Peyton Manning for being the top pick. Ryan Leaf was the guy in front of him that we know his story, didn't show up to the rookie premiere, didn't show up to the rookie symposium, alcoholic, arrested, drugs, blah, blah. And so Peyton Manning looked like the better pick because they're like, well, man, this dude, he just forfeited. Like I did the rookie symposium and we literally, we got to the Rose Bowl, $18,000 check. We showed up to the premiere, $10,000 check. Ryan Leaf said, man, I don't even want y'all 10,000. Like, I'm good. I'm not even going. Like, what? All 265 rookies are going and you're not going to go because you don't want $10,000? Somebody should have known he was on crack at that point. And so when you think about that, that's why I say these rookies, you don't know what you're going to get out of them. You know what you're going to get out of Sam Darnold with Kevin O'Connell. I'm not saying you got to get rid of J.J. McCarthy because I know that's what some people saying, trade the first round pick. But I truly believe when you look at the numbers, there are more veterans that have had a better shot of their second go around or maybe a couple years later within their organization. Patrick Mahomes later, Jordan Love later. None of those guys got thrown into the fire as a rookie. And the guys that do, RG3, Andrew Luck, they fizz out. They burn out fast. Peyton, Tom Brady, he got to sit. Like, that's what people forget. Tom Brady did not get thrown into this fight. I mean, he was a 6th-round pick, but still, like, he got to sit. So that's why I'm a fan of, like, sometimes that early, like, pressure doesn't, like, we had Joey Harrington. That's my guy. We were in the same draft class, number 3 overall pick. Sam, you remember this. He said, I was not having fun in Detroit. He said, I had more fun in Atlanta as a backup. And he said, if he had gotten the right coordinator, maybe he could have been better. But he became a backup for a couple years and then he retired. But that's why I say, like, I'm okay with Sam Darnold. Like, we know what we have. A bird in the hand is worth more than 2 in the bush. Like, you know what you have. You don't know what you have in a hurt J.J. McCarthy coming off of a meniscus. I think eventually he'll be good. But again, I go back to the Penn State-Michigan game. He didn't throw a pass in the second half. Why? Like, he's not Arch Manning or Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel. We don't know what we have in that kid. And that's the only reason why I'm like, I like Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie, the pressure is kind of off this year, right? This is house money at this point. The pressure's off on KOC and Kwesi. They've exceeded expectations wildly. Sam Darnold has exceeded expectations wildly. Next year, everybody's under pressure. If it's McCarthy, he's under pressure because he's got to meet this high bar. Wherever Darnold goes, whether it's here or somewhere else, he's under intense pressure with a big contract. The decision makers are under pressure. I'm old enough to remember, Reggie, when Tuesdays were a day off at the facility. Nobody did press conferences, but it sounds like there were some interesting pressers yesterday with Wes Phillips. Maybe you can fill that in as well.
Yeah. So I just want to ask, where did the enthusiasm go for JJ McCarthy? Like, it seems like it just, that's
Everyone
the thing.
So excited to have him here.
Goodness.
Because Sam Darnold wasn't
gracious.
supposed to be this good. Nobody
Goodness
expected Sam Darnold. They
gracious.
expected Sam Darnold to suck. That's what they thought. He was going to suck like he did with the Jets. And then all of a sudden it's
man.
like, oh, wow. Look at this.
I mean, it's just, and back when he was throwing 4 picks against the Jags, people were like, oh, I can't wait because next year McCarthy, and then Darnold goes on this run, and everybody's like, well, what do we do now? What's gonna happen? Do we
Julia Roberts and
trade
Pretty
him?
Woman. Think about Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman. You marry her. That's what you do. You thought you had a hooker? No, I got a wife. Like you just don't know. You thought you had her for the night. No, I got her for the rest of my life. That's what Sam Darnold is right now to the Vikings. He's Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman.
Heck of a reference. I don't even know how to go after that. But so here's the thing. I still think you just let things play out. It's tough. Julia had a good point. There was no first round draft pick waiting behind Jared Goff. So he just was able to do whatever he was gonna do. And he exceeded expectations because Sean McVay basically gave up on him. And so and I think someone else brought up Case Keenum. Well, Case didn't necessarily have, a first round pick after him, waiting in the wings or whatever. And they decided like, yeah, we can upgrade from this guy. And they let him walk after the Minneapolis Miracle. And so this is a unique situation. And the Vikings are definitely going to have a decision to make. But it was interesting yesterday listening to Wes Phillips, just point blank asked about, all the people who are speculating about what Sam Darnold's future might be in Minnesota. And he said, I would hope Sam would kind of say, hey, the body of work that I've put in so far is going to take care of the future. All I need to worry about is right now. I think we all know that Sam is going to be a sought after type of guy from wherever that may be, whatever his future ends up being. I know all of us in this building are going to be happy for him, no matter where that ends up being. I don't think he has to worry about that anymore. He's proved the doubters wrong. Let's just focus on making the best of this season starting this week. And I ran that bite on Care last night because I just thought that was really interesting. I thought that was a really interesting point of view to have. And I think that kind of gets you in the mind of where the coaching staff, where the organization kind of sees things right now. And it's funny because what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, Julia, when Wes Phillips kind of told everybody that, McCarthy was doing some VR stuff and with the GoPro, and the next day Kevin O'Connell was like, really?
He told you guys that.
He told you that, huh? Oh, Dr. Phillips, right? Okay. It was really like, real tongue in cheek, kind of spicy. A little bit like he had a conversation with Wes after that press conference was done. Like, hey man, don't be talking too much.
Keep it internal.
What are you doing?
But have you guys seen the VR though? Anybody can do it.
No, it's really cool, but
anybody can do it. Like Dan Orlovsky
sure.
just did it on ESPN. Like all you have to do is go to the NFL app and go to Next Gen, and then if you have the VR, you can become that too. Like anybody can do it. So,
but he, Kevin O'Connell is, since he's been here, he's really kind of kept things very close to the vest as far as like what his intentions are. But he's been on record, even from the point where JJ McCarthy first got injured, saying like, we believe that we have our franchise quarterback. And so I'm very interested to see if Sam Darnold kind of pushes their hand a little bit and kind of makes things interesting. If he goes on a little bit of a playoff run in January, or possibly, gets this team to the Super Bowl. I think that now brings some interesting conversations to the forefront, but it's a good problem to have. And I think something that Dan Orlovsky mentioned earlier this week is there are no training wheels. Like they are operating in the fullness of the offense with Sam Darnold. They're not, trying to, ease them along or simplify things. Like he is operating in the fullness of that offense and he's making it look good. And I think you get a combination of coaching, of play calling, of weapons, and Sam Darnold's like legit arm talent. Like he's throwing rockets out there. I think that's why you see the things that we have seen over the course of this 6-game win streak.
Yeah, but two things about Wes Phillips and the coaches. They're never gonna say anything that they are not prepped to say. And that's like I've been to 2 dinners now. We just went Monday night with somebody that reports directly to Mark Wilf and Ziggy. And so when you look at Kevin O'Connell from day one, him and Kwesi made the mistake of saying, we know Kirk Cousins is not Tom Brady. That started the weirdness. And then Sam and I had some on the Ron Johnson show where then I had to go meet with the Vikings because of this. And so then that got figured out. And so when I learned from this is the Vikings are very, very, very particular. We had Kwesi's wife and Kevin's wife, and it had to go through 7 different eyes before they sent it over to Sam to put it on air. Like they are very particular with how they say stuff and do it, because it's not that they don't care. The coaches don't care. It's who they report to that cares. And I think that's where, you get some of these remarks and then they're like, wait a minute, I don't know if the owners are okay with this. Because like that's what it comes down to. Everybody is worried about perception. They feel like the riff with Kirk started from day one. And now they're just trying to protect, like, well, we don't want to do anything to hurt JJ McCarthy's feelings. So just in case we can't sign Sam Darnold, let's make sure he knows he's our guy. Like, and then he gets out there, and then what if he becomes like Jameis Winston, 30 for 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions? Then what are we going to say? What if he becomes Peyton Manning, 3 wins? And everybody's gonna be like, man, we had Sam Darnold and we let him go to the Giants, and now he's about to win a Super Bowl. Like, we don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
But
like,
I think Ron, the thing is like there was all this excitement about Sam Darnold after like the first 4 weeks of the season, and then it kind of cooled off. And then now the excitement is up again. Yeah. And it's like, okay, like I think everything is just kind of premature. Like, just kind of let things play out. And I think too, one thing to think about is, Minnesota is now kind of starting to look like the quarterback rehab of America. And so,
Amy Winehouse.
I saw Daniel Jones on the sidelines just staring longingly at Sam Darnold's success on Sunday when it was happening. I just saw him back there just cheesing it up. And so I think the thinking could be that if Kevin O'Connell has worked his magic, and he's long said that he believes in what he does in quarterback development, like he believes in what he does to develop quarterbacks. If he did it for Sam Darnold, he can do it for JJ McCarthy.
Have you ever seen the inner monologue though of Daniel Jones when people made jokes about him with the Giants, like what some people were thinking about on the Giants sideline and what he was thinking about? Like it's hilarious because he always looks like a surfer that doesn't know what's really going on. Like, so I forgot what happened in the game, and I forgot who. I have to find the video, but it's hilarious. I was listening to it today because Dan on NBC Radio, Dan Patrick was talking about that. Do the Raiders try to get Shedeur Sanders, or do the Giants force the Raiders to trade up? Do the Giants take Shedeur, or is Deion going to force his way out like Eli did? Or are they going to say, we want to tank for next year to get Arch Manning? And then they went through the whole Daniel Jones and how like his lack of understanding of every situation. And that's why the Giants eventually got sick of him and blah, blah. So yeah, there's a couple things now that some jokes have been put out there. Basically like the inner monologue of like the 2 other quarterbacks are like, yeah, sweep right, Jeff left, 383. And then they go to Daniel Jones and he's like, like he's just looking around. Like he has no idea what coach is talking about. Like, what are you talking about? Jet sweep? What is that? Like, so anyway, it's funny because I guarantee when that video eventually comes out of him looking at Sam Darnold, it's going to have a different thought in his head. Like somebody's going to take that and be like, oh yeah, Daniel Jones is thinking about are they doing chicken fingers in the media lounge, or are they doing, hamburgers or something? Like what's up there?
But that also brings up another thought too, is like, okay, if you let Sam walk and maybe Daniel Jones just takes like a 1-year type of prove it deal like Darnold did to be the bridge guy, for McCarthy, whether or not he comes back all the way from the injury or not next year. Maybe you let Darnold walk, and if you're a confident Kevin O'Connell, you're like, hey, I did it with Darnold, I can do it with
and that's
Daniel
a good point.
Jones.
That's a great point.
Athletic as well, and he's even more athletic than Darnold is. And he also has a rocket arm as well, so he can make every throw in this offense. So I think it's a good situation that they're in, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, take the emotion out of it, take the names and faces out of it. The decision they had last year with Kirk was can we get 75% of the production for a quarter of the cost? And they've gotten better than 75% of the production for a quarter of the cost. The decision's the same. So you're facing possibly paying 35-40 million. Can you get 75% of the production for a quarter or less of the cost? JJ McCarthy's making $4 million next year. That's like a tenth of the cost. Can you get most of the production for peanuts? I think that's kind of and Kwesi thinks that way. Kwesi's thinking in terms of assets and value. That's going to be a big part of this equation. Well, and Julia's right. Ultimately, like, she started this off by saying, let's wait and see what happens in the postseason. That ultimately is going to be, I think, what determines kind of JJ's future. We got to step aside briefly. We'll be right back. We'll talk about the playoffs, first round matchups. I think we got to start thinking about it. We're 4 weeks away, and plenty more, plus other pending free agents we have to discuss on the Minnesota Football Party. We're brought to you by Built Rewards. Today, if you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks. It's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points for flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Built is BILT. Make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. All right, welcome back, Minnesota Football Party. We'll do this again tomorrow with Arif Hassan, Luke Braun, Luke Inman. Let's kick it back to Julia. I want to look ahead to the playoffs. The Vikings are set to clinch a playoff spot. It could still be a 1 seed. It could be a 2 seed. I don't want to overlook that, but the likeliest scenario would be the 5, where you're going on the road somewhere, Julia. You're going probably to a Seattle. You're going to an Atlanta or a Tampa. Maybe the Rams come in late and steal that division. I don't know. Where don't you want to go? Where don't you want to play on the road in the wild card round in early January? What are you thinking?
I think they would love to go to Tampa because it's so warm there in January. And just based off this Atlanta matchup, obviously, I think that's one that they would look forward to, seeing Kirk again on his own turf and beating him there. But I don't know. I would say out of those 3, I would have to say probably Tampa is who you'd least like to see in the first round. I just think that Baker Mayfield's also kind of had, granted, Baker Mayfield saw more success than Sam Darnold did, but he's had quite the season this year. I know that they're 7-6 right now, the Bucs are, but they're on track to accomplish a lot of goals that I think that they set before the season started. And I would just say probably if I had to pick out of those 3, I would go the Bucs for sure. I think that probably that offense is going to give Flores' defense the most trouble, but I think that out of those 3, there's not really a terrible option or a terribly daunting option. But yeah, I'm gonna go Bucs on this one.
Yeah, well, and the Bucs showed against the Vikings last year that they could win, and they've showed in the playoffs that they can win. They almost beat Detroit in the playoffs last year with Mayfield, so I think that's valid.
It's just something about Baker Mayfield. It's the personality, obviously, that everybody knows so well, but it's also just like there's no way of saying like, yeah, well, Baker Mayfield, who knows? He's probably not going to be that great in the playoffs. I see him shining. I think that they're probably playing some of their better football right now anyways. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go Bucs.
Yeah, doesn't Baker have more playoff wins than Kirk Cousins in his career? Like, I think he's got at least 2. Maybe it's 3. Ron, where do you fall in this? I've got one that I'm kind of holding on to, but I want to hear what you have to say.
When you're looking at, I guess so. The Cardinals could sneak back in there. I don't think they do it. You got the Falcons, you got the Bucks. Pretty much, it seems like that's where it's going to go. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go to Atlanta. Like I don't know if I want to. Like I just feel like that Kirk we saw might have been just a little bit of the fan stuff there. I'm not too sure I'm scared of Baker Mayfield in the playoffs. Like I just don't know why I'm not. Like I feel like Kirk could go like Super Saiyan if he had a chance to say like, look, y'all got me, but I can now knock you out the playoffs. And you got a playoff quarterback versus a quarterback who we don't know what he's gonna do when the big lights pop up. Like, is he gonna like screw it up and just say like, oh, the moment's too big, I'm a piss down my leg, and mom, I'm sorry, I couldn't believe I did this. Like, we just don't know. We don't know what Sam Darnold we would get in the playoffs. So I'm a little nervous about Atlanta. Like it was a closer game than we realized up until the fumble of the kick return. I think that changed the game. Brian Asamoah completely flipped the crowd, flipped the game, flipped the Falcons' feelings. And so then Kirk felt forced, which we know what a forced Kirk feels like when he's trying to make a play, because the throw to Byron Murphy, or was supposed to be to Byron Murphy Jr., but that throw, that's supposed to be a post. Like, so either he threw the wrong route or the receiver ran the wrong route. I don't know which one, but the receiver was running a post. Kirk threw a go. So I don't know who screwed it up or who was wrong in that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want Atlanta back in Atlanta, because now you got the swag surf. You got a different atmosphere there. I just feel like the Vikings match up better with the Bucks receivers because it's really just Mike Evans. Like, you don't have a whole bunch of weapons, whereas the Falcons have a ton of weapons. And then you get them in their building. Like, it might be a different ball game.
Reggie.
Yeah, so I think Baker Mayfield has kind of reinvigorated himself. And if you remember last year, he went toe-to-toe with Detroit in that playoff game. And it came down to that last series. And, you know, he threw that. It was a kind of like the Brett Favre of it all with the interception there. Just a weird deal. But I don't necessarily think I would want to play Tampa in Tampa. I don't know if I'd like that. But also I just don't know if I trust Atlanta to beat out Tampa for that division after what we've seen from them the last 4 weeks. So
easiest schedule remaining in the league apparently belongs to the Falcons. That'd be the one reason. I think
you gotta tell Kirko that.
Carolina. Yeah.
You
I think
gotta
they get Carolina in there, maybe the Saints.
And I don't necessarily think he played terrible on Sunday. The Metellus interception was as bad as it gets. He just stared him right down and just threw it right to him. Like, he just forgot that he still played. Yeah, like he forgot.
I mean, they almost had, was it 400 yards of offense, or almost 400?
Yeah.
Some of that was garbage time.
Or over 400 yards.
Like, he was from behind in the fourth. But yeah, he ended up with 344 yards, but he still hasn't thrown a touchdown in like 4 games. So I don't know that I'm necessarily scared of Atlanta. I don't know how it would play out, but they're about to do this not next week, but 2 weeks from now. But I don't know that I would want to go to Seattle in January to play them. I don't know how things would kind of shake out, but those 12s up there, they get loud. They haven't really experienced, winning playoff football in a while. I think Geno's played well this year enough, but he has played, he has done some boneheaded things in that new offense in Seattle, but that defense is young and they fly around. I think that would be a really tough matchup, and I'm interested to see what that looks like in a couple weeks too.
Yep, they're going to get the preview on December 22nd. I'd be terrified of going to Seattle. Now, I think there's a better likelihood that Seattle gets the 3. However, if you beat Seattle and knock them down a peg, you never know. They could end up being the 4. That would scare the crap out of me. Going to play in maybe the toughest home field environment in the league, like rivaling US Bank Stadium, against a team that has a 3-headed wide receiver monster, good running game, aggressive passing game now with Geno who can wing it. I'd be scared. That one freaks me out way more than in Atlanta or a Tampa, where you get to go to a very controlled environment. I think if you go to Tampa, don't we think that the Vikings fans would kind of take that place over? I think they would. I think it would be heavy purple, be warm, good conditions. All the snowbirds that are already down there. Hey, let's go to the game. That's probably the one I want. I don't know if I want the rematch with Kirk just because it gets weird when you play a team twice in a month. It's like weird things happen. So I'm writing off Seattle. I don't want Seattle. Get me away from the upper. I don't think the Vikings have won in Seattle in 18 years, guys. Like 2006, I want to say was the last time. That's a house of horrors. That's the new Soldier Field. Now that the Vikings have conquered that place, so don't want to play Seattle. Give me Atlanta, give me Tampa, preferably Tampa. We're going to move on, talk about other pending free agents, Bears trap game, plus we will make a bold prediction for the Bears game and report on some successful bold predictions from the Falcons game. That's coming up next, Minnesota Football Party. We are brought to you today by Ice Shaker. If you're like me, your holiday shopping is far from complete. Terrible procrastinator. That's the case. I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fan in your life. And maybe you've heard of Ice Shaker. It's licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, MLB. Makes the ideal gift, probably fits in a stocking. It's created and used by the Gronkowski brothers. Ice Shakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They've changed the game with workout bottles. This is the gift you've been looking for. Maybe you want to, if you're Ron Johnson, you want to go hoop at the gym. Have your Ice Shaker bottle waiting on the sideline. Go to iceshaker.com. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout. Save 25% on your order. Order your team-branded bottles today at iceshaker.com. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $25 off your order. Again, third-party tested, customizable. There's an agitator that works as a strainer. Great tailgating option. Check it out, Ice Shakers. Show your support for your team with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers.
And see your doggy.
Yeah, that's Captain. He's hanging out. He's sniffing the Christmas tree. He's about to settle in for his 8-hour nap. Just trying to find the right spot.
Me too, Captain.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Pending free agents. Obviously, the big one, Sam Darnold. But we got some other ones as well on this Minnesota Vikings team. A little speed round here. I'm going to give you 3 free agent names. I want you to rank the order in which you want them back, like how badly you want them back, ranked 1, 2, and 3. And I think this is tough. Aaron Jones, Cam Bynum, Byron Murphy. I'm going to give you a running back, a safety, and a corner. Let's start with Ron. Rank them 1, 2, and 3 in the order you want them back.
Give me Cam Bynum, then Aaron Jones, then Byron Murphy. I think Cam Bynum at safety and what he does, it's undeniable. His team energy, his movie, like you can't replace that. We need a run game. I don't know how easy it is to find a running back of Aaron Jones's caliber, even though he fumbles. And then Byron Murphy, I do love him at corner, but if I have to put him in precedent of these 3, I'm going to go with that order right there.
Reggie.
Man, this is tough. Definitely go Cam Bynum 1. I don't think you want to lose him. I go Byron Murphy 2, Aaron Jones 3. And I only say Aaron Jones 3 because maybe they target a running back early in the draft.
They only have one early pick in the first round, so they might have some comp picks too. Might have some comp picks. But not a lot of options there, right? So I didn't mean to steal your thunder there, Reg. You're muted.
No. That was pretty much it. Yeah. I think I've seen some mocks, bring up Ashton Genty going to the Vikings in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he's gonna be there, especially if Jerry Jones has a say on the matter. So I don't know, but I think if that's not going to be a situation, I think definitely getting Aaron Jones back. He's been a really good back for them this year. We'd love to have all 3. And maybe if you don't sign Sam Darnold in the offseason, you can sign back all 3.
Yeah, so that's a big one. Vikings have the 6th most cap space right now in the NFL. They've got like over $70 million. They kind of have to restock the cornerback room. And that is why I think Byron Murphy is your priority. Stephon Gilmore is good. He's also very old. I think Byron Murphy is, and you've seen the playmaking ability, not just with the interceptions, but the forced fumbles. He's been rock solid for 2 years now. Still pretty young. I think Byron Murphy is my priority when you think about the importance of the position and the lack of signed players next year. Dwight McGlothern is going to have to start unless they sign some other people. So you got to get Byron Murray. Yeah, Nudie McGlothern. Byron Murphy is my number one priority. Number two would be Cam Bynum, strictly for the celebrations. That's the number one reason why. And I love Aaron Jones, but I'm looking at the running back class in free agency. I mean, you've got Najee Harris, A.J. Dillon, Nick Chubb, Zeke, although I'm not really going after Zeke. There's a lot of options out there. I think that you can probably find another running back that can come in if Jones doesn't want to stick around, and or find someone in the draft. But I'm going corner, safety, and then the running back Jones. Julia, who you got?
Okay, I was wondering if I was crazy here. I'm going to agree with you, Sam. Byron Murphy is one interception away from leading the league. And I think that it's something that we talked about last year. We talked about this year in terms of the quarterback room. The quarterback room was a hot mess 3 seasons ago. Byron Murphy came in and I feel like really helped. And I'm not going to say he's fully responsible for helping that cornerback room out, but he really made a large impact on the success that they saw. And then when he got injured at the end of last year, they really felt the pain of not having him out there. So yeah, I'm going to say Byron Murphy's the number one priority. I'm going to say Cam because Cam obviously makes an impact on the field, but I think that also the impact that he has in the locker room as a whole is something that is hard to replace too. And then I'm going to go Aaron Jones third because, like you said, there are options at running back, but also like, are you going to see the productivity and the health out of Aaron Jones next year that you've seen this year? The fumbles are another problem, obviously, that they're fixing. Seems like they're on the uphill climb with that, but I do think he would probably be one of the easier to replace. All are very important to this Vikings team this year, but that would be my ranking of those three.
Yeah, it would be so sad to lose Cam Bynum, just from a fun standpoint. Plus, Harrison Smith is kind of a year-to-year proposition at this point. Don't know if he's going to be back. Cam Bynum could kind of be your anchor at safety for many years if he hangs around. All right, Bears game Monday night. Is it a trap? Bears have lost, is it 7 in a row or 6? I think it's 6. And really got embarrassed by San Francisco. They had been competitive for so many weeks in a row. They got the interim coach. You're expecting, they're going to get the interim coach bump. Didn't happen, Reggie. They were outgained 319-4 in the first half in San Francisco. So why am I nervous about this Monday night game? Why do I think it's not loser proof against this flailing Bears team?
Because you saw that first game against the Bears and how they looked and how they almost snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Like that was almost a thing. Like when that onside kick was recovered by the Bears, it was like, oh no, they didn't. And it was just by the grace of God and Brian Flores, they were able to get after Caleb, and it was a little bit of ineptitude from the Bears in that overtime period. I don't know if you remember Caleb holding the ball for like 17,000 seconds and Jonathan Grenard finally being able to bring them down. And so they had a lot of praise. Jonathan Grenard especially had a lot of praise of Caleb Williams and his abilities. He made some tight window throws in that last game that made you go like, oh wait, how did he fit that in there? And those things kind of make you give a little pause. And I think Brian Flores yesterday, he was just like, man, he's fast. That's the biggest problem. He's fast. And just the way that he can extend plays, and he's slippery, like you think you got him in your grasp and you don't. And, I think the ways that they have lost over the last 6 weeks are not indicative of some of the talent that's on this team. You got Keenan Allen, you got Rome Odunze, you got Cole Kmet, you got DeAndre Swift running. Like they have weapons, and Caleb is going to be good, I think, in the league. He's still figuring some things out, but I think when you saw that first game And you see that the Vikings do have a propensity of giving up some yards. I know they play that nice bend don't break defense. Once they get down into the red zone, like things kind of, tighten up a little bit. But, Caleb kind of had his way in that last game, 300 plus yards against them. And the defense had the bracket coverage on Justin Jefferson. Maybe he's found a way to kind of get out of that and find windows and find ways to be open for Sam. But if you remember, Sam had to throw it to everybody else. It was Naylor, it was Addison, it was the tight ends like
Hawkinson, big day.
Yeah, big game from Hawkinson. And so, I think when you think about the last game, and you're like, man, they're on this 6-game win streak, you would think at some point maybe they got to trip up at some point. I think you think of kind of like the history of following the Vikings and their trends and what happens to them and all that. I think you're typical, bruised and battered Vikings observer, Sam. I think that's why you are scared and nervous about this game.
Yeah, I also went to the Josh Dobbs Monday night game against the Bears last year, and maybe that's left
that was atrocious.
Some scar tissue as well.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about
that.
What game?
No.
Which game are you talking about?
Yeah, there was
happened.
A game? Monday night game?
Never happened.
Caleb Williams took a pretty big step back last week in just taking sacks, 7 of them. Now, I need to see how those sacks came about, if he was scrambling his way into them or if the Niners just broke through the line. That's a lot of sacks. The Vikings got him on the ground 3 times, and I felt like he was really slippery, really hard to obtain. It's hard to imagine that not only have the Niners sacked him 7 times, but New England sacked him 9. New England, they have a pass rush. They got him 9 times. So he's got that kind of sackable gene in him. If the Vikings can unlock that at home, it's going to be hard for the Bears to compete. Ron, Julia, what are your thoughts?
No, I would agree. I think that we talked to the guys in the locker room, and they talked about before the game how they knew that he was going to be different than any quarterback before the first Bears game. That's what I'm talking about. How they knew he was going to be different than any quarterback that they had faced. We talked about it on here, and then we saw that from them. I think that now one of the strong suits of this defense is being able to adjust to not only their opponents that they've seen for the first time, but now the second time. I will say, it's the most competitive division in football. That's one of the reasons why I'm just not really writing off the Bears in this matchup. And like Reggie said, the Vikings can do really, really great things. And then all of a sudden, something happens. It's also the NFL. That's what happens. But in particular, when it comes to Minnesota sports teams, I never give them a full confident, yes, they're going to put this away and get this done. I also think it's like the old saying says, it's hard to beat a team twice. And I think the Vikings will win this game, but I think how the last one played out could potentially happen again on Monday night.
Yeah. Ron, you worried? You're muted. Is Spice Adams worried? We should get Spice on again.
There we go. So when you look at the Vikings, I'm a little worried, but here's where I go with this. Defense travels well. And so when you look at home versus away, the Bears offense at home is in the bottom half or bottom third of the NFL. They're not good. But the Vikings offense on the road actually travels pretty well. They're in the top 10 when it comes to converting first downs or touchdowns on any drive, like not just first down, second down, or third down, any drive. Their offense has traveled well, and then vice versa, their defense travels. And so, same thing. They're in the middle of the pack for defense, whereas the Bears on the road, they're worse, and at home they're better, but like by 1 basis point. They're like 24% at home, 23% on the road. So the Vikings overall, their defense travels well. And when you think about the Bears and them traveling and coming to Minnesota, how does their defense travel? It doesn't. Like, that's what I was trying to get to. Like, some people's defenses travel well, some people's don't. The Vikings have. The Bears, there's no difference. Home or on the road, their defense has been pretty much the same. And so I'm a little worried, but I'm not, also because I feel like they have the crowd behind them. And to your point of Caleb Williams, he does hold the ball a lot. And so That's why, like, so if you look at Kirk Cousins versus Sam Darnold, one of our questions on the pregame show was, who's going to get sacked more? And I said, I think it's going to be Sam Darnold because he holds the ball, and Kirk gets the ball out of his hands because he's not as mobile. And that's what happened. Kirk throws the ball away. He'll throw it to the ground. He'll throw it to the other team. Like, he's getting the ball out of his hands, where Sam Darnold is going to try to weave and bob through to get through. That's what Caleb Williams does. He is very, as you said, Sam, sackable. Like, he likes to run around and he likes to move in the pocket. He likes to be like, he thinks he's Patrick Mahomes. And that's the thing. And then also when you look at QBR right now in the NFL, they praise quarterbacks that move. So you got Josh Allen's, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Kyler Murray, the top 5. Why? Because they run around. Who else puts it in there? Jameis Winston. They got Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. Why? Because they throw off schedule. They fit balls into tight windows. Caleb Williams, you would think, would be in that crowd because he does that stuff. But no, even when he runs around, and that's why I tell people, stop praising these quarterbacks that do this crazy stuff, because Caleb Williams is 30th in QBR. So that's the other side of why I'm not as scared, and they're coming home. So one, he's going to have crowd noise. He hasn't dealt with that in Minnesota. We saw Kirk Cousins even struggle with it. The crowd feeds off of it. When the minute the quarterback does some type of hand motion to say, I can't hear, the crowd actually feels like they get louder and they're excited that they're helping their team out. And Monday night, that means they're going to be able to drink for about 6 hours before the game starts. So I am not as scared. I do feel like it's a little bit of a trap game, but I'm not as scared. The only reason I would be worried is the Vikings get a big lead early and they relax. Like, they start feeling like, oh, we got this guy. You see guys sitting back on the bench having fun, doing the movie stuff to the camera, and they're not dialed into the game plan. Whereas this is one of those games like the Lions have been doing to certain teams. You beat them like they're Jackson State and you paid them to come play Alabama. Like, you got to absolutely destroy them so that there's no question that when your team is headed to play the Lions, you have a chance to win the division.
Jackson State catching strays on the Minnesota football.
Shout out to Jackson State, though. They just won. They just won a SWAC, though. So shout out to Jackson State. That was just the first one that popped in my head. Like, but they pay them what, $1.4 million to come up to Alabama and get run through, and then they go back and they take their $1.4 million and they go help their athletic department out. So that's what the Vikings should feel like. They're paying the Bears to come into town, and Ziggy's going to give them a nice $500,000 check. Thanks for coming, and then spank them and get them out the door.
Speaking of Alabama, Julia, how do you think they're going to do in the college football playoff?
This is so funny, Sam. You're so funny.
I thought so. Had to do it.
I think they're going to do well on their bye week. Like, they have a bye in the first round, don't they? And the second round. And the third, don't they?
Really? The Gophers are playing in the college football playoff too?
The Mayo's Duke Mayo Bowl, and the last time Minnesota played Alabama, we spanked them. So, hey, line them up. Line them up. Line them up.
In their dry spout?
Every year. Every time we played Alabama, we beat them. Line them up.
We'll see you.
Julia, don't they? I think the Gophers and Crimson Tide play in like 2030. Yeah. Let's have a friendly wager on that game.
Okay.
Drake Lindsay. Oh, no, he won't be here. Who will it be? I don't know. Let's see who that might be by then.
He's 12 now. He's 12 years old.
Yeah.
Start scouting the youth fields.
No, the Gophers quarterback is definitely 18 right now.
Well,
they like the old guys.
Yeah, they'll get a 6th year to come in 2030.
It's going to be, it will be. It'll be Max Brosmer coming back.
You're in high school right now if we're going into the 6th year.
We're going to have Ricky Falky, Pat Sue back up.
That Edina kid. I can't remember his name. Maybe he'll be around then. So we end the show with a bold prediction. This is what happened last week. Reggie, you had Jefferson on 2 touchdowns. Jefferson had 2 touchdowns. Well done. Well done. And Ron Johnson went into his crystal ball. He had the Falcons on 3 turnovers. Nailed it. 3 turnovers for Atlanta. Now, I said it would be Kirk's final start as a Falcon. I think we'll know today, right?
Ooh.
Like if they were going to make that change, today's the day they would announce it. So we'll see. Maybe next week, maybe I can come back and brag that he's been benched. But
or maybe they'll have a player just kick him in his Achilles so that he's on the injury report.
Yeah, they're like, what
Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan.
Just kneecap him. Where's Dan? Yeah, we need someone to Dan Campbell him. Bite his kneecap off. Julia, start us with a bold prediction. You had Hawkinson on a TD last week. Didn't come true.
Yeah.
But,
you know what? Yeah. I'm sticking with Hawk. Come on, Hawk. He has to have one this season, right?
Okay.
So we're going with Hawk. At least a touchdown this week, please.
Ride or die with TJ Hawkinson. Ron Johnson, bold prediction.
I'm sticking with the turnover machine. Give me 2 turnovers, two chains at home. The Vikings will force Caleb Williams to do something stupid, or this team is just going to do something stupid, and they're gonna fumble the ball or interceptions by Caleb Williams. He holds on to the ball too much.
So I was going to go Hawkinson as well because he saw all those touchdowns happening last week, not to him. 3 to Addison, 2 to Jefferson. He's like, dang, what about me, baby? But I'll let Julia keep that one. I'm going to say that Byron Murphy is going to snag another interception. So he'll get 7 against Caleb.
7 for 7.
You know, I don't know if any of these are really like bold. I feel like you got to go crazier. It's Monday night. You got to get wild. I'm going to say the Vikings will sack Caleb Williams 8 times.
Ooh.
And they will recover. One of them will be a strip sack that is recovered by Van Ginkel for a touchdown. So that's an 8 sack plus Van Ginkel parlay.
Dude, if that ends up happening, you need to drive to Iowa immediately and get your money.
Be like, hey, I said this. I can prove it to you. I said it on a show. Can I get paid for it?
I hope so, because the celebrate, like I said, we had dinner Monday night with a couple Vikings people in the front office, and so the amount of practice for the celebrations has been going on. It's like amazing. So I'm interested. I'm not going to spill the beans. I'm just interested to see if they can pull these off, because I just hope nobody gets hurt, because the Cam Bynum one, like, dude, you could have got flipped the wrong way.
Yeah, when he flipped, it was like, oh
yeah. So, but I do know they're trying to win ESPYs. Like, so there's going to be some. So I hope this is a game where we see multiple. Like they should. I hope that helps. I hope like Byron Murphy pick 6. And I hope strap sick fumble return for a touchdown, so we can see all the practice they've been up to.
Here's my bold prediction. The Vikings defense is going to have a whole performance at the ESPYs this year.
Oh, you're going to the ESPYs. You're taking the full year.
Yeah. They're going to have a full performance at the ESPYs, like Kirk and who was he performing with?
Kelly Clarkson.
Wasn't there someone else?
No, he was singing with her. He can
what
sing.
What was the parody?
No, they did a whole dance and everything.
Cam Jordan?
Yeah. The ESPYs.
Okay. I love it. That is a bold prediction. Now we're talking. Ron, you are the movie buff. I need you to think through your movie catalog and tell us, like, what are some choreographed dances in movies that they might try to duplicate? Because that's kind of that's been there.
On one.
Which one?
One of the Bring It Ons. They've got to.
You got that. You got Step Up. You got Stomp the Yard. Like, Stomp the Yard would be more in like Josh Metellis's bag. So just saying, just and that's what Ray Gunn kind of stole. It's a little bit of Stomp the Yard-ish is what Ray Gunn had stole her finishing move, but hers was terrible.
We gotta do a High School Musical. We're all in this together. Right?
That's where you get.
I don't know about that one.
You get the whole
Zac Efron. Sit down.
Hey, these guys are all my age, so
the Stump the Yard though.
Right off my movie references.
I can see the Stump the Yard.
Yeah,
he throws them out and he slides across and then finishes with the elbow move, like or hit him with the Chris Brown crump.
Yeah,
because Kai Sinnott has got some stuff that he's been doing, so they watch those streams. So I know he had the Jabberwockies. Could be a Jabberwockies thing. Like just keep an eye on it. I'm looking forward to it.
Whoa.
Oh, a monster. Oh, Julia's cat just looked huge. All right. Minnesota Football Party. We do this Mondays, Wednesdays now, and Thursdays as well. Julia Daniels, Reggie Wilson, Carol Levin, Ron Johnson of The Ron Johnson Show. Check out his interview with Andrew Sandejo, by the way. And I'm Sam Ekstrom. Appreciate you watching, listening, commenting. Great stuff in the comments. People are heated. They're fired up about the Sam Darnold discussion and the free agent discussion. We'll talk to you next time. You're on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Thanks a lot.